Welcome to the Kind Leader Podcast, where empathy meets action in the world of leadership. Your host, Gino Degregori, engages with innovators and seasoned professionals from diverse sectors, all demonstrating the power of leading with kindness. And now, your host, Gino Degregori.
Today's guest believes that leadership isn't only just about strategy, it's about self-awareness and choice. If you're looking to lead with emotional intelligence and authenticity, this episode is for you. I'm Gino Degregori, and welcome to the Kind Leader Podcast. Our guest today, Barbara Boselli, is the founder of BNOW Consulting, a leadership trainer, coach, and keynote speaker with over 15 years of corporate experience, including roles at Google, L'Oreal, with certifications in emotional intelligence, mindfulness, and spiritual psychology. Barbara helps leaders and organizations cultivate self-awareness, resilience, and empower decision-making. Why does this conversation matter today? Barbara's approach demonstrates how integrating emotional intelligence and mindfulness can transform leadership, enhance team collaboration, and drive meaningful change. Barbara, welcome. To kick us off, can you share with us a little bit about you and your journey, please?
Thank you. So nice to be here. So I was born and raised in Brazil and started my career there working for one of Brazil's largest corporations. And then I came to the US about 20 years ago to get an MBA from the Kellogg School of Management, Northwestern University, and continued my career, went to work for Google, as you mentioned. And some point along the way, I started getting really, really interested in leadership and why some people are really great leaders, some weren't as well as much. And I had this idea that either you were a natural born leader or you weren't, until I learned that that wasn't the case. I actually went through a training at Google called Search Inside Yourself, where I, for the first time, understood that any of us can develop as a leader, basically by really strengthening our emotional intelligence skills. And that really stuck with me. It was a big aha moment. I remember sitting in that classroom, looking at the facilitator and thinking to myself, in my next life, I would love to have that role. Mm-hmm. But it was really kind of far from where my career was going. But then some time passed, I decided to leave Google, take a break. I was raising my kids and went back into the market with my company, BNOW Consulting, bringing leadership training and coaching and, helping people develop all those skills that I've learned and still learning for sure. And I just love it. I feel so powerful to be able to support leaders and anybody to become more aware, more empowered in their lives, to be able to shape their lives in the way that's more aligned for them.
Amazing. Congratulations, Barbara. And so much success there and making an impact now, right? With all your customers and definitely would like to go into more detail about the emotional intelligence and how you've been able to successfully help. It's something that I would love our audience to take away after this conversation for sure. But before we get into the conversation, first question I'd love to ask my guests are, what does being a kind leader mean to you?
I think being a kind leader is a lot about compassion. And the way I see compassion is understanding what's going on for the other person and being able to support them in the way that's most helpful for them. And what is most helpful for them sometimes can look like just listening to what they have to say. Sometimes is telling a difficult truth to them. Sometimes is just giving them space. So it's really about identifying what is that this person, what would best support them in this moment, and put that as more important than what you may want to do, what might feel comfortable to you, right? Sometimes it's a lot easier to say yes to what someone is asking you for, even if that's not in their best interest. So just putting the other person's needs and success in front of you. And I just want to add one more thing that I feel like often people confuse kind with nice. And I think those are very different things. Sometimes being kind is actually the opposite of being nice. As I said, it's saying something hard, saying some truth, or not giving the project to the person, or not giving the promotion. And that might be the kind thing to do, even though it doesn't feel like nice.
Yeah, absolutely. No, thank you very much. So to kind of repeat it in my own words, is compassion of the other person and making sure that you approach the kindness and action that you're going to take with care and support, and making sure that it's going to impact and help that individual at the end of the day, right?
Yeah. Even if that is not comfortable for you, right? Really putting their needs in front of yours.
And that's the hard part, and I've listened, by the way, you are 50th episode. Congratulations.
Yay.
And to say that I've heard 50 different kind leader descriptions from each perspective is amazing. And we all
Yeah.
have our own kind of beliefs and perspectives, as well as what they want to contribute and do in this world. And their definition, although different, they come close to each other, right? With
Hmm.
compassion, with empathy, with love, with caring, connection. And they all always say to kind is not necessarily nice. And you combine kind and leadership, bring that accountability and support structure.
Yeah.
And at the end of the day, is to help everybody rise together. How do
Hmm.
we help and elevate and navigate and provide better value to all around us at the end of the day?
Yeah.
So thank you for that description. So going into some of your background, um, so you're born in Brazil. When did you come in? You were in your teens, or
No,
when did
I
you come
came
to the
in
US?
my late 20s. That's when
Okay,
I came to go to grad school.
nice. And what was your experience? 'Cause I'm also, from South America, as I share with you. What was
Hmm.
your experience coming from a different culture and going into the US? Just want to understand that a little bit more. How was that for you?
Well, it was definitely an adjustment, right? It was a lot of change at the same time. I was in a big school in the American school system that's very
Yeah,
different from Brazil, with people from all over the world actually, but a good portion of people from the US. And I remember when I started, there was a session for international students where they we're talking a little bit about the differences in culture between the different countries. And there were some things that they said about the US that were really interesting for me, that's so different from Brazil. Like, I remember still to this day, and this was like, I don't know, 20 years ago, if you're talking to someone, just give like an arm length
yeah,
distance. And as you know, in Latin America, that's not what it happens.
yep. You get close. Yeah.
About like not interrupting people. In Brazil, we just a conversation is a series of interruptions, and here
Mhm.
it's like you got to give space, and I still struggle a little bit with that.
Yeah.
So it was an adjustment, just to kind of understand these cultural norms and how things operate here. And in the end of the day, we're all people.
Yeah.
We are all looking to connect with each other. We are all looking to grow and to learn. And so, if you go back to the essence, we're a lot more similar than not.
Right.
So I
Right.
guess that's been my learning. Although, of course, the cultural norms are something to consider.
Yeah, and I appreciate you kind of bringing it back to kind of the leadership experience and the essence of that. And I wanted to highlight your experience coming from another culture into this, the American culture, which you said is a little bit different. In some places, it's different. We have audience folks listening all over the world, and I want to kind of highlight and emphasize that although cultures are different, at the end of the day, leadership, caring, being a kind leader is essentially a good foundation, and it can be interpreted
Yeah.
and done in any culture at the end of the
Yeah,
day.
it's universal.
Universal, there you go. Universal kind of approach. So you got into the understanding emotional intelligence within Google. Is that like you took a class, you said, and you went, is a class that talked about going within. Can you tell us a little bit more about that and how that helped you do the things that you're doing now?
Yeah. So, as I said, I was a leader at Google. I had a team that I managed, and I was really observing how some leaders were extremely effective. People would follow them wherever they went. They would be able to keep calm in the midst of chaos, when everybody was freaking out with something, they communicated in a way that people would understood, that people would feel heard. And I didn't know, like, how do you develop that? I thought either you were born with those characteristics or it's
Yeah.
not for you. But then I was sent to this training. It was called Search Inside Yourself, and this training is founded in mindfulness as the basis for getting to know yourself. Which, self-awareness is the first pillar of emotional intelligence. So mindfulness is a way to help develop that self-awareness, to connect with yourself. And then I learned about mindfulness. I already had experience with mindfulness, but that's how it connected with the business world for me. And I learned about the different aspects of emotional intelligence, the different pillars, as laid out by Daniel Goleman. And for me, it was like, whoa, so all of us can learn this. And of course, there's the whole neuroscience aspect of it, which is that our brains are malleable throughout our lives. So even if we don't have a skill very developed now, the more we practice, so if we practice to become better listeners, if we practice to take a breath when we feel triggered by a situation, and we take that moment to kind of observe what's happening with us before we respond, as opposed to just react on a reactive way, right? All of that, we can train ourselves so that we change our default response from the reactivity, the interrupting people, right? Not listening, to a behavior that is more conducive of being a better leader by listening better, or being more, taking your time before I respond. So that training was when I understood that this was possible for everybody. You just had to practice it. Just like if you want to develop your muscles, you go to the gym and you do, bicep crawls and all that. If you want to develop your leadership skills and your emotional intelligence, you practice. And it's very clear for me that leadership is a process.
Right.
It's not a destination, right? We are all in our leadership evolution in different times, and it's not a straight line either, or like a straight upward line. It's like this. I feel like some days I'm a much better leader than other days, or some moments, right? But that's what really kicked me off on this journey.
That's beautiful. Thank you for sharing that. And now, as I'm listening to you, you mentioned that you were doing mindfulness stuff before you took that class. What got you into mindfulness?
I've always been interested in self-development.
Okay.
And so I've experimented with different things, and I don't even remember how I got into mindfulness. It's just something that I started doing here and there. I remember when I was doing my MBA in Chicago, I did attend a meditation training. And at that time, meditation and mindfulness, they were associated with not business, right? Everything but business. And I didn't even tell my classmates I was doing that training, because I felt it was something that would speak against my, business personality. And then looking back, I see, why did I do that? I didn't need to. But right now, I think it's a lot more mainstream. People recognize that you have like high-level athletes, high-level executives, high-level politicians, people, military, that are adopting mindfulness practices, because it's just, Dan Harris, who is a big advocate for mindfulness, he says that just like, years ago, if you told someone that you would go for a run, they would look at you and say, who are you running from? Like now running is just like, obvious. People run. Mindfulness is kind of becoming that same thing, right?
Yeah, absolutely. Thank you for expanding on that. The reason I'm asking is because although it's mainstream, I got into it about 5 years ago, right, into meditation, which I knew about it. I also been very big on self-development ever since, the late 90s, just understanding and trying to get better as I was going into college and all that stuff. But I didn't really understand mindfulness meditation until just 5 years ago during the pandemic. And the reason I wanted to understand your journey on that is because before I thought meditation was more like you want to essentially just be in a quiet, and I couldn't quiet my mind. And when I did it, I was able to slow things down, be in the moment, be in the now, be in the present, and appreciate the things that we have, appreciate the things that are around us. And then visualization. I'm a very visual guy. And the minute I started doing that, I was able to visualize the things that I wanted to accomplish, the things that were in front of me, that were available. And you talk about within, right? Like a lot of the answers sometimes are intuitive answers that you can navigate and ask the questions. And sometimes you get a good inkling about, hey, you should do this or you should do that. And I'm just allowing right now, nowadays, just allowing things to happen with less friction. And it's still a hard thing to do, but it has helped me a lot. And I'll give you one more example. And we've been kind of on and off, but I'm bringing it back for our leadership team. I provided a guided meditation prior to our leadership meeting, every week. And that was amazing. Then we added some other leaders, and then I got busy doing things. And then our last meeting, and I haven't done this guided meditation for a little bit now. It's been maybe 6 months or so, right? And I talked to my other leader that was with me. He's like, something is different. The energy in the meeting is different.
Mm-hmm.
Something is missing. And they brought up, hey, remember we used to do this meditation, the guided meditation? I think that kind of helped us center to focus and bring the right energy into the conversation.
Yeah.
And that kind of led me to I need to bring it back so we can just center and have the right intentions as we have those conversations. So coming back to you with your mindfulness, bringing that into leadership, what are some of the things that you're seeing or doing with your customers when it comes to kind of mindfulness in the business world?
Yeah. So what you just described is part of the training, the Search Inside Yourself training, and also the trainings that I deliver, which is this practice of taking a moment to arrive when you start a meeting or when you're transitioning, right, from work to home, just so you can get your mind in that moment.
Mm-hmm.
Often, especially in meetings, and especially if you are doing online meetings that you don't even get to walk from one room to the other, right? You just click a button and then you click another button and you're in a different meeting. You don't have time to arrive
Mm-hmm.
there. You start a meeting, you're still thinking about the action items from the previous meeting. So just taking that moment, and it can be a meditation, as you mentioned, and it can be as simple as let's all just take a collective breath and set one intention for this meeting. Or you can even do this alone if you don't want to bring that to your meeting. If you feel it's going to be weird, the culture of your company doesn't yet allow for that. Or you can be a pioneer and bring it to the meeting. But anyways, there are different ways. Or if you're in your car, just parked in the garage, ready to walk into your home, to your family, again, it's a great opportunity to take that one breath, decide, okay, what's my intention now? Who do I want to be now as that I'm walking home? That's one practice. Another, you were talking before about connecting with yourself and figuring out what best serves you in the moment. A practice that I work a lot with my coaching clients, for example, is, when you're in a moment that you are feeling triggered by something, you just received that email that is nasty.
Yeah.
We might tend to react and respond back with an even nastier email.
Mm-hmm.
And then we regret. So there's this quick practice called STOP. And STOP stands for, the S is literally for stop. T is for take a breath. So, instead of pressing reply, you step out of your computer, you stop, you take a breath. Then they always for observe. What's happening right now? What am I feeling in our body? Our body usually reflects our emotions. So I am angry, I'm upset, I'm disappointed with this person. What is happening? What's leading to this feeling? Like, what am I telling myself? They don't care about me. And then you just kind of investigate a little bit and observe. And then you also think about, okay, what do I want to get out of the situation? Do I want them to be even more angry than I am? Maybe, or do I want to resolve this? Or I want to understand why they're sending me this nasty email? Or I want to address what is it? And then the P first stop is proceed. So after you take a moment, and this moment might be like a whole night. You receive the email today and you sleep on it, literally. Then you proceed the next day. This can be a lifesaver. I know it's been a lifesaver in my life, personally and professionally. And it's a quick, easy
Yeah,
acronym for people to remember. So this is very
I like
helpful. And
that.
I mean, I have a million of different tools that I work with my clients and I share.
Yeah, no, I love the framework, the example you just gave, because we're all humans, right? We're all very emotional, right? And sometimes I've received many of those emails or surprises in your emotions wants to like respond right away. So I love that. So you stop first, don't react, you just stop, right? And then the T is to
Take a
take a
breath.
breath, right? So you really just take a minute, right? Even just breathing once or a couple times kind of slow things down. So kind of
Yeah, if
your
you just do
heartbeat.
the S and the T, you're like 80% there,
Yeah,
honestly.
right. Yeah. And then the observation is critical, right? But I think, correct me if I'm wrong, I think the observation needs to be very open, right? Open in a way that, what do I need to learn from this message right now? Like observing, not so much judging, but I think it's more like, this is just my perspective, is understanding what's going on right now. To your point, what am I feeling internally? And as well as some of those things that happen. So I like that. Oh, and then the P being proceed. And one of the things that I'm doing lately, not that I get these nasty emails a lot, but but when I get emails that I need to kind of take a pause, I'm using AI now to help me with the answers.
Mm-hmm.
So instead of just writing the email and boom, flinging it out, I use Copilot. I type in my response, and then I
Mm-hmm.
tell it based on, I give it a little more information based on what I'm feeling, based on what I'm seeing. Here's my perspective. Make sure it sounds professional. Make sure it sounds direct, but it also make sure it sounds kind. It's kind,
Mm-hmm.
right?
Yeah,
And you'd be surprised. I mean, I was surprised when I started doing it. It actually gave me a framework or responses for me to then grab. And now I'm thinking about cleaning up the message rather than feeling the anger or the upset or the feeling that I was
yeah.
before.
Mm-hmm.
So that might be something now with the tools that we have nowadays. It's another way to slow down and leverage those tools to help you become that better.
Totally. I love that.
What do you think?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
So that's another tip, I guess our audience can really leverage in the future for sure with all those free tools and AI. And then I think
Yeah,
AI is just, this is not an IT kind of conversation per se, but it's going to impact, or is already impacting a lot of industries, including the coaching, including, right, leadership, training and all that stuff. So I'm excited to
totally.
see how it grows. So
Mm-hmm.
so,
Yeah.
one of the things that we wanted to also talk about with you was, how do you work with teams to empower them and really lead with being an authentic self, right? Like, how can organizations really learn to do that better?
Well, I think that people will be more authentic when they feel like it's safe to be authentic.
Right.
And, you know, there's studies that showed actually that psychological safety is the most relevant aspect of an effective team. So, in order to build psychological safety, there needs to be really the way I see it, leadership needs to lead by example, right? They need to be behaving according to the values that they set out for the organization. It's not only about talking or even having policy, it is about really embodying that and creating a common language in the organization that really supports people in being authentic, in being open, in being not afraid of speaking up, of making mistakes, of giving their best ideas, of challenging people's ideas. So I think it really comes back to the company culture and how the leadership is walking that talk.
Hmm. No, it makes sense. It has to start from the top, right? And making sure that they have
Mm-hmm.
the right tools, the right mindset, but most importantly, the right culture that allows that safe space to be who they are
Yeah.
and not be in such a fear concerned. If I say something, I'm not going to get the promotion. If I say something, I'm going to get yelled at. If I say something, I'm going to be, demoted or something, right? There's that fear doesn't allow for authenticity. They also allow for creativity, right?
Yeah.
And it's just more about, more of a robot coming in and doing their thing and out, right? So
Yeah.
when I talk to leaders out there, it's like, and how I'm doing it here within Bravo is everybody has a voice in the organization. Is what I say. Right?
Hmm.
Everybody has a
Yeah.
voice from the top to the bottom, right? Interns or even partners too, right? And then what I mean by that is there's so many perspectives and opinions and ideas that the more we allow for that integration and openness to bring it, the better we're going to come together. Maybe not all of those ideas will be integrated, or maybe not those things will be part of a solution that we're putting together, but you feel like you've contributed to
Yeah.
the overall goal. And that's, people want to be included. People feel like, oh, I contributed to this to create this impact, and creates all this different environment. But to your point is, it has to be an environment of trust and openness, and be able to not be afraid to speak up. So thank you.
Yeah, and I think that a lot of companies, they in theory would agree with you that people are welcome to speak up, to voice their opinions. But then when things get when they don't make the numbers, right? When
Yeah.
there's a crisis, then the rule changes. Now
Mhm.
not everybody has a voice, right? Now you're not welcome to give your opinion anymore. Now you are not welcome to push back. Now, if you make a mistake, you're really going to be punished, right? So I think it's really, again, about walking that talk, even when the situation is not beautiful
Yeah.
and things are not so easy. And it doesn't need necessarily for every company to be everybody has a voice. And that could be interpreted in different ways by
Of
different
course. Yeah.
people. But it's about the way I see it's like you have clear values for the company, and the behaviors, especially of the leadership, they're aligned with those values, even or maybe even more importantly, when there's chaos,
Yeah.
when the numbers aren't being met and all that.
Well, yeah. So definitely, everybody has a voice, but there's an intake process too, as part of the culture, right? Of those ideas coming through it. But to your point, though, if something goes wrong, awry, or not numbers not being met, or the mission, if you work in the government, the mission is not being met as well, what does that do? That elevates. Now we're in a different level of energy. We're in a fear state now, right? We are in a I
Yeah.
don't want to say negative, but now our decisions at the top. Now you start making decisions of fear, more like, okay, I need to control this the
Yeah,
rhythm. I need to do
totally.
this. So now those decisions are more from a scarcity mindset rather than an
Hmm.
abundance mindset. And
Yeah.
and I think, and I'm not perfect, right? I've done situations where like, oh, yep, I flipped it, but now I self-awareness that you said earlier, right? Okay, let me, before I use maybe the stop method, to not react to those decisions and understand what happened. Here's an
Yeah.
opportunity for us, a leader, to learn the situation. What did I do wrong? What did I do right? How did I communicate this, or what happened on the environment? And then bring that to the individual who didn't do it right. So then
Yeah.
you miss an opportunity to teach, learn, and grow, compared to like, no, you did it wrong. Boom, you're no longer allowed to do this. I'm going to do it my way.
Yeah, totally. Hmm.
So that's the difference. I mean, as I'm hearing you talk, as it relates to kind of creating those environments where people can be more fluid and provide. To your point, they're also at the leadership level. You got to walk the walk, right, and talk the talk, or however make sure that we're delivering that stuff. So one of the things that I shared with you, wanted to do is kind of flip the mic. Is there any question that you have for me, whether it's kindness, on leadership, or anything?
Yeah, I am actually curious about what made you like center this podcast around kind leadership. Why is that the focal point for you?
That's a great question. Thank you, Barbara, for that. So as I said, I came from Peru, in the early '90s, and the culture shift was, I was able to easily integrate into the U.S. I was young. I picked up the language, no problem, and I've always been one of those people that I got along with everybody in a way, right? I got along with even my high school. There was here in the Northern Virginia area. There was like 80 different countries types of people going to that school. It was a very diverse school. And one of the things I realized when I got to college is like, I adapt very well. I kind of like adjust to things, but I'm always looking out to create kind of a win-win. I'm always looking to how can I, not so much how can I selfishly benefit, but how can we all benefit if I'm doing something, right? So my approach to, and I'm just going a little bit back, like giving a history of all this stuff, right? But the reality is, I realized that I'm a nice individual, but I keep people accountable and I provide good feedback to those individuals. Like that's something that I recently realized, right? That was something that I had and not that many people were able to do, right? And as I built this company, I started incorporating a lot of these core values into the company. It took me a while. In about a year and a half, I felt like, I'm in IT, as I share with you, doing a lot of IT government work or commercial work and doing a lot of Microsoft technologies. But I realized that if I want to build an amazing worldwide organization, I really need to build a good culture. And so I figured I put this podcast in place to not only share this to the world, but also create that brand on who we are, who I am, who we are as a company, and how we build leaders. What I like to say is how we attract and create kind leaders, because you're attracting the same level of frequency and energy into the organization. So, but at the end of the day, the kind leader came to me during a meditation, funny enough. And the word kept coming up, kind. Like it's just in my mind, right? Kind leader. It's like, oh, that's interesting. That's an interesting perspective. So then from then on, I started kind of thinking some more, meditated on some more. And yeah, that's
Wonderful.
that's where we are right now.
Interesting. Thanks for sharing that.
Absolutely. Thank you for asking. Yeah, it's been quite a journey, and I've been enjoying bringing in guests to the podcast, and I learn every time I have somebody, the guest, like Stop, for example, the Stop framework. I love it. I'll start using that and just become a better leader. And
I'm glad you will, and I hope listeners will as well.
Absolutely. That's what I want. I like, to your point also, it's a journey, right? It's not a destination. We gotta keep learning. We gotta keep getting better, and every day we just get stronger and stronger, right? So, all right, going into the rapid fire questions here. One book every leader should read.
Can I say 2 books?
Of course.
So the first one is more like, it's not spiritual, but it's more about like how you relate to the world and consciousness, and it's called Loyalty to Your Soul. And it is a book by Ron and Mary Halnick, and it is all about how you relate to the world. It's one of the key quotes from the book is, how you relate to the issue is the issue. It's about how you interpret what's happening, and that gives us a lot of power to define how we live our lives. The other book is a more recent one. It's called Clear Thinking by Shane Parrish, and it's about decision making. It's a great, practical, objective book that helps everybody make better decisions in life, which I think it's so important for every leader and everybody, actually.
Nice. Very nice. Thank you for sharing. What's a favorite quote or mantra?
One of my favorite quotes is from Maya Angelou, and is, if you don't like something, change it. If you can't change it, change your attitude. And it's in the same lines of personal empowerment and creating, the reality you want for yourself. Yeah,
I love that quote. Change your attitude. Starts within, right? Like you have control. You can create.
That's all you can control, really.
Yeah, exactly. You can create your own world. If you could have coffee with anyone, past or present, who would it be and why?
I would love to have coffee with Viktor Frankl. He was a Holocaust survivor and psychologist who wrote a book called Man in Search for Meaning. And his work was really about how you find meaning really in life, and how you create your experiences in life. And it's along the same topics, but I would love to meet him, or to have met him.
Very nice. Very nice.
Very interesting life experience he has and all.
Absolutely. Thank you for sharing that as well. And One thing I like to do now is kind of ask the audience for a kind leadership challenge that I'm putting out there. And I'm going to use your STOP framework. So I'm going to ask the folks out there, after you listen, go to LinkedIn and hashtag kind leader challenge. And we'd love to hear your thoughts on the STOP framework. How are you using it?
Cool.
How's it working? Just your thoughts out there on that, please. But yeah, so it's been, just wanted to kind of know some of the things I just want to share. Kind of, this is the way we interact, and we're using LinkedIn a lot to provide that feedback back and forth to improve it. Because this is I feel like it's for anybody who wants to listen, but we are targeting a lot of professional leaders out there, right? And really changing the mindsets and improving leadership lives. And so we can all rise together. But it's been great talking to you, Barbara. Where can our listeners connect with you and learn more about it?
So my website is BNOW and I'm on LinkedIn too. I'm sure you'll put the links in the show notes. And my email is barbara@BNOWConsulting.com. I love to hear from people who listen, who have questions, who use the practices. So I'm always there. And I really appreciate you creating this space and sharing these important topics, giving people challenges. So it's really action oriented, which I love because of, I'm a coach. That's what I do. Yep. So I appreciate that.
Awesome. No, appreciate it. The B now, is that Barbara? Is that the B for Barbara, or what is it?
Well, it has a few different meanings, right? Be now also is about being now in the moment.
Okay.
Which, it's again attached to the mindfulness thing and just being present and all in and in charge. And it's a play on Barbara too, the B.
Yeah. No, I love it. Be now and be in the moment. Experience it. I love it. All right. So any final thoughts that you have for our audience here?
Well, as I said, and you also echoed that leadership is a journey. It's going to have its ups and downs. We are all humans. We are doing the best we can. And we all have this beautiful life to grow and try new things and make mistakes and learn from our mistakes. So just keep lightness and keep doing it. Keep going and investing in yourself.
Awesome. Great words. Thank you, Barbara. I appreciate you sharing your journey, your wisdom with us. I think we learn a lot. I've learned a lot, especially the STOP framework there. And to our audience, thank you for listening to the Kind Leader Podcast. And remember, be kind, bring value, rise together. Have an amazing day.